Welcome back to Successful Farming. I'm Ryan Roossinck with Tractor Zoom, and today we're at the Kinzenbaw collection. So John, what got you into collecting tractors in the first place? Like, is there a cornerstone of the collection?
Well, the reason I started collecting tractors was because I grew up on the farm. We only had one tractor. That was one of my reasons. The other reason was that I had an uncle that had a B Farmall that I thought we ought to have one, and Dad would not buy one for the farm because we didn't need it. And so when I started collecting, the first tractor I bought was a B Farmall. I took that B Farmall into my basement shop when I lived in town, and I had a brand new Bostrom seat that I put on the left axle, which was basically an axle that wasn't used for anything. So I put a seat over there. So now I had dual seats. And then I put a clutch pedal on that side, run it underneath, and hooked it together so that I could sit on the Bostrom seat and have a clutch and a brake lever. The rest of it, the shifting lever and all that, I could reach. So that became dubbed as the driver's ed tractor, and that's what I taught my daughter and my son and a lot of the neighbor friends how to drive a tractor.
Neat.
Good. It's a good experience to see when you're turning and the front end is sliding in the dirt or whatever, to understand how the front wheels of your car act on a slippery surface.
Mm-hmm.
To watch those wheels turn, but yet slide a little bit, and that's how I think to this day Susie is a very good driver because of the experiences she's had driving about everything out there.
So is there kind of a theme or a focus to the collection, kind of a red thread that ties them all together?
Well, I started collecting red tractors to begin with. I collected H's, M Farmalls, B, C, H, M, all those. And then I got going off into other models of the Farmall tractors, and then a little into the other tractors and John Deere tractors, and just kept adding to building off of each line that I had. When you get into the H Farmalls, you go all the way through. In my case, I went through year by year, so I ended up with every year represented from 1939 through 1954.
Mm-hmm.
Did the same thing with M Farmalls. Then I got into the John Deeres, and not so much by serial number, but I did collect a lot of the models of the John Deere.
Mm-hmm. Which models of Deere were your favorites to collect? I know you've told me that the 4020 is one of your favorite tractors of all time.
Well, that was the one that when I got into business, I started working on local tractors, and a couple of my customers had 4010s and 4020 John Deere, and I got to driving those, and I found out how much handier they were to operate than any other model out there. So I really jumped I liked the Internationals, but then I jumped over and I liked John Deere's even every bit as well.
Mm-hmm. Just so it was kind of almost dependent on the series, and we saw lots of fairly major developments over the years, and and the 4010 was certainly one of them. So
yeah, John Deere went to no end to catch up. They were so far behind the old two-cylinder tractors, from the shifting and the clutching and all of that, to all of a sudden they had closed center hydraulics. They had the best of the three-point hitch. They had the brakes that were running oil. They had synchronizers for the reverse or power shift transmissions was a great advancement. So they really went all out with the 4020.
Yeah, very much so. And they took the market. They kind of stunned all their competitors when, what was it, August of 61 or 60 or whenever they...
60 was, I think, when they showed that.
Yeah, when they basically kind of stormed Dallas and flew all their dealers in. Can't imagine seeing all that come to life for the first time. Must have been something. But anyway, back on the collection. Are there some tractors that are a little more personal in that collection to you? I suspect there probably have to be.
Well, my dad's old H would be one.
Right.
And some of the local guys around, I've got an H Farmall from a guy east of Williamsburg that was an original when I found it. I've got some from all around. I can name probably a dozen tractors that I know who had them, or even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I got the collecting tractors that I knew the original owners or knew some of the history behind them.
Tell me this, and there's discussion about this all over the place. We've asked it, and it's been something that's been hotly debated. But in your opinion, what's the most important tractor of the past, let's say, 100 years?
The Farmall tractors, whether it be starting with the F-20s and F-30s, then into the H&M Farmalls. Those are the ones that really were the ones to follow, that really paved the way. And it was the narrow cropping ability to put a cultivator on the front end of those tractors, to hang a picker on them, all the different things that they could use those tractors for. And that was what really paved the way.
So that was really what pushed the story of agriculture and helped with the development to what we see today. And obviously what we see today is so massively different, but it's neat to see that innovation, and it's kind of cool to hear. I've heard several different opinions on this, but I gotta think that I think that's a pretty good, fair answer. I think that's probably where I would come down to, is the starting with the regular.
I think the brand loyalty possibly skewers some people's thinking, because the 40/20 has been so successful. Any of these farmers that have been around 40/20s, grew up with a John Deere 40/20, automatically say, well, it was the two cylinders that were the most important, and they really weren't. There was the guys that had the two cylinders, in my opinion, just didn't know how much easier it was to operate a Farmall H or a Farmall M.
Yeah, I can see that.
I like to ask the question, why don't you use the A and the B John Deere for square dancing? They did it with an H and a C Farmall. Why not an A and a B John Deere? There's no way that you could do that and move those around that fast.
No, or that smooth.
That's right.